For me, I went to college here, and after college I lived here a few years, and I spent every weekend, every holiday out in places like this. And now to be back here chasing antelope it's fun. And I know a lot of people don't think of that when they think of Nevada.
I'm one of those guys who likes to show up an hour before sunup so I can sit in the truck for an hour and eat donuts and slurp my coffee.
Well, the idea is to get over here on this side where there aren't a lot of people. There's a few places where springs come down, and you can see how dry it is here. I mean, this, compared to other years when I've been here, this is as dry gets. So what antelope are here are gonna be in these greener areas near where these springs are. And I see 3 antelope way out there. One of them's a buck. He doesn't look like anything real spectacular. I've only seen 3 antelope here, and all that's prime glassing time before the mirage and heat waves get here. I want to move on to the next spring and the next spring. I want to check out all 3 of these before it gets too late. Not looking good, folks. Not looking good at all. I think the crew was quite cued in on my disappointment. There are places where the road is just destroyed, and we got out, moved a bunch of rocks, at least the biggest boulders, and it's even worse now than when I was here 2 years ago because of the number of washouts that have happened. And I'll be honest with you, we didn't see much. I was really disappointed in what we saw. 2 years ago, we were here with our friend Ray White, amazing guy. And we were here right where not too far from where I'm sitting right now. And it was green, the rabbit brush was all bloomed out and yellow, and there were antelope everywhere. And right now, there's not a lot of antelope in this part of the unit. I don't think he's in any danger either. He's not real tight hook, but got decent prong. When you're pronghorn hunting, the value of having a day to scout is immeasurable. Because you're out there without a rifle in your hand and you're just looking at every antelope and analyzing, does that one appeal to me? What about this one? What about that one? There's 17 of them there and 2 bucks. Oh, there's a buck right down low in front of us. Straight off the end of the point.
He looks like a pretty good buck.
He's a really good buck.
Like as soon as I got on him, I was like, damn.
He's better than those other 2.
Yeah.
But you know what they say, when they're big, you know it right as quick as you look at them. And what was all 3 of our responses when we looked at him?
That's a good one.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So, and I just told the guys, boy, if we could get a crack at him, let's go to this one corner where maybe they'll leave when the hunting pressure starts, and we'll be out here, and if they come out, well, maybe we'll get our shot. not a lot here in the way of antelope. Gotta find them. On to the next crossing spot. Hoping that group of 10 that were over there earlier would come this way, but it doesn't look like it. Well, we stopped and gave it one last little look. Some more BLM right out here. We saw one buck. He's not as big as a couple others we've seen today, so we got a long drive in the morning to get to where we're gonna be. Plus we got about a 1.5 mile hike, so we're gonna be up with the the chickens aren't even gonna hardly have went to bed by the time we're getting up. So tomorrow's opening day. So opening morning, we drive out there, we walk in the dark, and we're coming down to where the BLM makes a corner around this private. And we aren't, I don't know, not that far from the truck. 185. It's our guy. It's the guy we watched in the field last night. He's facing towards us. Oh, he's moving right. He takes off running to the south. And at that point, there's not much we can do about it. We gotta wait for it to get lighter. He stood there at 180 yards for a long time trying to figure out what we were, but we got a boogie. He went that way. Kind of the direction we're going. I'm afraid we're gonna keep bumping him. But it's good to know that this is where he likes to bed. They're standing under that last wheel looking. And as we're watching, there are hunters out in those alfalfa fields, a lot of hunters, and there's shooting going on. And you can just see these antelope running around that field. And pretty soon to our south, they find a spot where they cut in and they end up going out into the BLM. There's a good, I think it's him. There's one really good buck in there. So we start hustling over there, and we get over there, and it's an old dry lake bed. You know, you think about the Bonneville Salt Flat where they do the speed tests and all, you know, you go and drive to set the new land speed record. That's how flat it is out there. But in the years, this greasewood and sage and rabbit brush and stuff is growing up, you know, probably 4 feet tall in a lot of places. And so all we can see are the heads of antelope wading through all this tall vegetation. Boy, he's way out there, he's 440. Mistake this guy might be, because he might get separated and be solo. But one of them is nice. I tell the guys, I'm like, you know what? That one right there, he is definitely worth looking into, because I'm kind of a sucker for antelope with big prongs and or a lot of hook or curl. This guy had both. The guys out in the field, they've got a whole mess of antelope moving kind of this direction. And this buck that we've been following is up here about 700-800 yards, and we're gonna go towards him because that's down here about 300 yards is the path they're taking. So if those ones get pushed, I'd like to be on that trail that they prefer. This buck that we're looking at, that we want to try and get a shot at. He breaks off from the group with another buck that he just goes, flares out like that. Let's just keep following him and following him and following him. They bed down where there's a slight slope, I mean ever so slight. And there's hardly much vegetation there. That when they bed down, they can still keep their head above that little bit of vegetation.
He's just so beautiful. He's the classic problem. If he gets in range, he's getting shot at because he's just too pretty. I've never shot a buck that pretty. But now he's looking a different direction. He's looking right towards us.
And sure enough, the one looking towards us sees us, stands up.
Now they're both looking right at him.
Now the other one stands up and I'm ranging him and it's like 400 yards. It's so flat that when you're trying to get a range with a rangefinder, it's not up against the slope this way or down against the bottom that way. It's like, whew. I'll admit not having a lot of confidence in what my ranging is doing when it's out there and it's that flat.
His buddy is standing up just on the right side of the bush. Way out there now.
They get up and they start moving to our south.
I see him. He's right between those two ravens on the fence post. Let's slowly move that way.
And we're kind of doing this little hook game. When they'd go through some taller brush, we'd try to get over here and get through some taller brush and keep doing that and keep doing that.
Right here. He sees us. There's some more tall bushes here about 50 yards ahead of us. We're gonna go around this way and go right to him.
And finally, after I don't know how many attempts to try get in a shooting position, this buck decides that he's just gonna stay there for a while and he's horning some brush and he's just walking back and forth. And so we're going and we're going and we're going. And we get there and now the buck is kind of like, what is that over there? So it's me and two camera guys with tripods behind me. So it's not like we're the most inconspicuous crowd. I've got two choices. Either to try shoot through that brush, which I'm never gonna do, or to try a throat shot, neck shot, which I'm never gonna do at 330 yards. Turn, give me a broadside shot, you know?
Still don't like the angle.
Off he went, and he kept walking and walking and walking.
Next time he puts his head down and starts walking, we're gonna make another push.
And so the crew and I were just walking single file right towards him. If I sneak forward, I'll maybe be able to get a shot at him. And as I come forward, I'm getting at not much of an angle, but enough of an angle that now the brush looks even taller relative to him when he's behind it.
Got too much brush in my way.
And if I don't feel like I'm gonna make the shot, I'm not gonna do it.
Let's go to that next bush. There's nothing you can do. The sage is all this stuff, and I don't ever have an open shot that I'm comfortable with. I'm gonna hit some brush.
He takes off. I mean, he just goes running for a half mile.
So frustrating, but that's hunting. I mean, I had a 330-yard shot, finally got dead solid, but he's looking right at me. And when you take the fur off an antelope, you gotta target that wide with brush right up to here. And I tell the guys, well, let's just dig into some of this tall rabbit brush here and let's take a nap for a few hours.
I've been trying to be my own guiding star, but it appears it hasn't taken me very far.
And I look way out there behind us, and there's that buck standing there looking at the last place he probably had seen us.
There he is, he's right behind those posts.
All right, we know where you're at.
I take it that he wants to play the game. Stay tuned for the next great charge of Randy Newberg and his fearless immortals. And if you watch the movie Tombstone with Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer, you know what I'm referring to. Yeah, Huckleberry. All right, ready, boys?
And he's just taking us further and further away from where we started in the morning.
I mean, he's down in a depression. Even antelope get tired of being harassed. Eventually, he'll hit that fence.
Now he starts moving to our left, and we do this cat and mouse game again.
He's trying to get through the fence.
So we keep doing this and going and going and going. And now he gets back under the fence and he's making a beeline back to the alfalfa fields on Private. And we follow him, and that's where he leads us. Right back to where we'd started that morning.
Looks like they made it back to the private sanctuary of all these alfalfa fields where everything started at daylight this morning.
What do? He goes out there in the alfalfa field, plops down, and just looking around. Oh.
I'm gonna drive this way and look at a few more of these springs. There's 2 more springs I want to look at. Yesterday they didn't have much for antelope, but who knows?
We saw some smaller bucks, but the hunting got really, really slow in the afternoon, which isn't out of the norm for antelope hunting. So with all that, I take what I learned on day 1 and say, day 2, this is what I'm gonna do. Instead of going to that fence corner, I'm gonna go on, there's this old terrible road. We drive in there to our waypoint, park the truck, get ready, get set up, and wait for the sun to come up.
I can see out in those fields, close to a mile away, there's a ton of antelope out there. I just need to see some hunters easing in on them like yesterday. Start shooting, start moving them this way. And we're getting this little bit of a bottom, possibly.
Well, that works good when there's a lot of hunting pressure like there was day 1. Day 2, there's one other person out there.
There's a guy in the ATV with an orange hat here.
But he was driving around on a side-by-side, and he had the bucks running from one field, or the antelope going from this field to that field. He'd drive over there, they'd go from that field back to that field.
Got him on the run now.
Finally, they got annoyed with him enough that they come streaming out of the field exactly where we were set up the day before.
Now they're all turning and coming more this way. They got up here, now they've turned and they're coming south. And the one in the back, I'm looking at him.
He just got a monstrous head. Huge man.
I'm thinking, you know, that could be that big buck that we bumped the first morning in the dark.
This could be the buck we saw bedded in the field. The way I see his hook now.
We're to their east, sun at our back, and the sun is lighting them up. Or it looks that way. And then all of a sudden, this buck and 2 does cut off and they go straight south.
I've been watching him now for about an hour and a half. And he's probably a mile away by now. But if he beds, I'm going after him because he's got major mass. He hooks kind of back. I think he's the buck we saw out in the field Saturday evening, the night before season.
And I'd seen him trying to cross a fence. And so I knew where that fence was from when we'd driven down there on the scouting day. So I told the guys, let's load up. I want to chase this one. And we get to where the road is so muddy, you can't go any further.
I was hoping I could drive south and get on the other side of it, but it rained 2 nights ago and there is water as far as you can see here. So I'm gonna have to see what he does, and I'm gonna have to figure out how to navigate this big sinkhole. He came up the other side now.
I'm like, well, I guess we just got to get closer.
You ready to go fast?
Yeah. And we see which direction he's heading, so we're kind of bird dogging him and following him. He disappears over this, just like a knoll that's only 2 feet tall, maybe. And we get to that knoll and we look, and there he is. He's bedded out there. This could actually be a shot. The buck just stands there, which tells me instantly I shot over him.
I did see it. I did see it.
Maybe that 317, maybe he didn't go very far. Maybe I didn't have to hold in the top third. So we go up to where he'd been and we look out there, and now I range it. And this time I come up with 285, something like that. I'm feeling way better this time than I did the first time.
You guys on him?
And the guys are like, he reacted to something. Well, I had to have hit him. I must have. Now he's just trotting. Now I'm looking for any sign of a hit or anything. I don't see it.
He's standing there. Shit, he's running again. I don't know what's going on. That one felt really good. Something is not up to snuff.
So I grab all of our stuff and I said, first thing we gotta go right up to where he was standing and check for blood. No blood, no blood, no blood. Nothing, just hoof prints where he took off. Dale says, there he is right out there in front of us. He's out at your 1 o'clock, and he just bolts. And he takes off and he picks up his 2 does. I'm disappointed in myself because I feel like I rushed both shots. I should have ranged it again to make sure of what that range was that I thought he was at that first shot.
so disappointed in myself.
My job is to either pass on a shot when I'm not 99% sure, or when I take that shot, know that that animal is dead. I didn't do either.
Well, a couple more miles.
That one I missed this morning, he's etched in my mind. The one that got away, right? You'd swear this was a fish story. The one that got away.
I know you ain't doing this to yourself. Stop what you're doing and let him go.
We've walked in a little over 3/4 mile, 400 yards from the private boundary. These antelope have been coming, like 300 yards that way or 300 yards this way. We're gonna wait it out, see what happens.
Well, we find this little knob, and it's only 1 or 2 feet higher than the entire surrounding area, but it's got enough taller vegetation that we can tuck in there and hide a little bit if some antelope happen to come by.
Bedded out here with 6 bucks and 3 does. This one looks like from the first day curly with the flared out prong and the big prong. There's so many pronghorn in that field up to the north, but like 80% of them are up there.
And so I told the crew, I'm like, well, if this curly looking dude comes out here, I'll shoot him. I'd still like to get a crack at the one from yesterday, but we don't see him anywhere.
Now that I see him with another group of younger bucks, he's substantially bigger bodied. So it's not just a miniature little guy that's faking me out. He's a really good buck. Now we're in the pre-rut. Today is August 24th. If we were another week, 10 days into it, the rut would be in full swing and these bucks would just be chasing each other. And by September 10th, they're full on crazy.
So we sit there and we wait and we wait, and pretty soon we've been there an hour, hour and a half, and all the antelope start milling up north where we sat the first morning.
There comes a white truck. Maybe he's our guy. Maybe he's gonna create enough commotion here. The antelope are very afraid of him.
And they keep going further and further north. We thought a bunch of them would cross not too far from us. Nope, they didn't. And then they went straight east, except the curly looking guy. Him and about 3 or 4 other bucks peel off, and once they got way east, about, 1,000 yards east of us, then they start coming south. They keep coming south, and they bed.
I never underestimate how far an antelope will go from feed to bed.
But there's no approach to him in the least, because he's over here, we're back here, and he's got like a cadre of alert bucks just bedded out between us and him. There was no way you'd be able to get in on him.
That's not doable, gents.
So now it's time to really think about what are we gonna do.
Yeah, I can't believe that.
That's bad luck. Because if we go to make a loop on Curly, he's behind some brush or something. So right now, he can't see us because we can't see him. But these three knotheads over here, they're gonna go stand up and go do their snort wheeze. And then every antelope's gonna stand up, and we're still gonna be 500 yards, 600 yards away from the one I wanna shoot. And then this curly buck gets up, him and a bunch of these smaller bucks just start heading south.
I was looking at the truck, like, I don't know about that thing. Every time I've seen the glare of the sun off a windshield, bad things have happened. So Jack gets shot last year out of one of those things.
And finally they're out of sight. With the Mirage, I watched them for over a mile, and then the Mirage is just so bad the last time they took off running, I'm like, I don't know where they went.
Where the hell would he be going? Nothing out there.
Antelope are some of the most habitual, territorial animals I hunt. So we've got nothing to lose if we go way down south where I missed that big buck yesterday. And the curly one and his two companions just headed to parts unknown. So that kind of makes the decision for us. We're gonna go back to the truck. We're gonna drive down to where we were yesterday when we saw that buck standing out there by himself. And we're gonna see what it's like down there today. Not that it's probably any different. So while the crew's in the truck, I said, you guys just wait here for a second, cool down in the air conditioning. I'm gonna go drop the tailgate, and I'm gonna stand up on the tailgate and gain that extra 3 feet, and I'm just gonna glass everywhere. And all of a sudden I look over to the southwest. So I'm like 320 degrees in my radius. I'm like, there's a buck out there. Exactly where I missed that buck yesterday. So I jump down, I tell the guys, hey, look at that buck out there. I'm gonna grab my spotter. Let's get him glassed up. Well, we pulled up here and we found a buck. And he looks like the same buck I missed yesterday. I'm like, that is absolutely the buck I missed yesterday. And I told the guys, if he beds down again, be ready. We're gonna hurdle this fence and we're gonna go. Boom, down he goes. I'm like, let's go. So one of the things I've found, and I don't know if there's any science to this, is that the peripheral vision of a pronghorn is unbelievable. The scientists say it's up to 320 degrees. There are times that I've found that their depth perception is not always that great. So I told the guys, let's get in a straight line and we're gonna keep the truck right behind us, and we are not gonna deviate from that landmark I have. We're just, because if he pops up, we want him to be looking at us, but see the truck in the background.
I can see his horns out there. Once we go over this little lip here, he might be able to see us, so stay as low as you can.
And I don't even see him stand up. I think Dale said, he's up. And I just dropped down and I look, and there he is. He's just looking at us.
Getting 275 every time at that bush just in front of him. Yeah. He's laying there behind that. He's behind that bush right there.
There's no screwing around this time. I set the dial to 270 and I take my trekking pole and I push forward, and now the butt of my rifle's higher, so I'm low.
Yeah. Let's do this.
And as quick as it gets to the point where my elevation is perfect, I'm like, are you guys ready?
see anything? I didn't see him run off, did you?
No. A couple hops to the left.
Yeah.
I just lost vanished.
I mean, I know where he is, but I'm gonna walk up there, and Jace, you stay here and mark it. And I'm like, all right, let's march up there. So Dale and I march up there. There he is. And he's got more mass than I thought he did. He's not as long as I thought he was. I thought he was 15, he's like 14 and a half, but I don't really care. My goodness, what an amazing buck. You could fill your pronghorn tag usually within the first 6 hours of any pronghorn hunt. Not all, but most. And I could have done that easily on this hunt. But one of them will stand out to me as that's the one. Well, we saw this buck I ended up shooting every day we were here. And if there's a lesson to that, it's remember that pronghorn are very habitual. And if you see a quality buck that appeals to you, don't give up on him. If there's one thing about pronghorn, get them cooled off as soon as you can. I don't even like having all this meat lumped in one big mass here, but the sooner I get it to that ice, the better. And what can I say? How lucky. We come out here within 500 yards of where I missed this buck yesterday, he's bedded. Even though their numbers are very healthy, they're a fragile species. We as a society are putting a lot of pressure on their home landscapes. And pronghorn pay a price for that. Bringing more pronghorn content to people hopefully makes them interested in pronghorn and hopefully makes them advocates for pronghorn.